get this lucky. Yesterday, Kay Gardella. Today, John J. O'Connor. And alongside me, before we meet Mr. How do I say the name, Joe?
Goodavage.
Goodavage, who's got to be one of America's, if not one of the world's leading science writers and researchers, author of such books. Which were any of them, Joe, before Our Threatened Planet? Which were, you had one that was here.
The last time I was here was, unfortunately, the Comet Kohoutek, one of the biggest fizzles of the century.
Really? That's a medley of your hit.
Yeah.
Right?
And there were several others, but a lot of astrology and borderline scientific areas that I like to investigate.
Where have you been so long? How do you sort of spend your time?
I live in Maine and love to the outdoors, and I come to New York to for the stimulation, and to Maine for the tranquility. It's and the research, of course, areas are here.
Well, this man has some very exciting and maybe frightening thoughts on the foreseeable future and how our future is going to be greatly influenced by so-called climatic conditions. But I'm going to forget about the future, Joe, for a couple of seconds. And this, to me, John J. O'Connor never makes any rounds. Jessica Dragonette, she's got 15 offers a day to go on TV shows, and it goes nowhere. And Jessica Dragonette was and is radio's first lady from the golden era for more than 2 decades, every Monday night and Wednesday night, starring on, which were some of your...
Oh, City Service, of course. Palmolive Beauty Box.
Right.
Ford Summer Hour. The Coca-Cola series.
Radio, when you started, first of all, you had to be 14 or 15 when you began.
Oh, definitely. I was still in school when I began.
And
and just kept on going.
You figure you'd stay in radio for a week or 2 weeks, right?
No. I thought it was an uncharted sea. I really was training for the opera. And I thought that radio was an uncharted sea. Here, I didn't have to follow a tradition. I could create something. And to me, you know, very youthful and very artistic-minded, I felt that I could create something.
You created. How many people on a typical... Now, John O'Connor mentioned 60 million people watch TV. I would imagine...
No, we had 66 million
66 million
every week.
Every
week.
On radio, 66 million.
Yes, definitely. And I had letters from the Taj Mahal in India.
Right.
And from all over the United States. And of course, I lived through the broadening of the network, you see. Every week or so, we would have 10 more stations added to the network. I was a pioneer. I wasn't in the first line of pioneers, but in the second line of pioneers.
This lady has had a great career. She is best remembered for radio, although she's written incredibly popular books. But this was the era, Joe, of live radio.
Absolutely.
What do I
All
mean?
live.
What do I mean by if somebody made a mistake? Help me elaborate on that thought.
No, you couldn't make a mistake. It had to be good the first time.
Right.
And of course, you know, then I went to see the fans all in their own cities and towns where they lived. So I did about 12 tours across the country in concerts. So I could meet them face to face, because that's what they asked me to do too. Well, it was all very exciting, but the most exciting part is the beginning. You see, the pioneering is very interesting. And you know, my picture was the first sent over television. I was locked in a studio when I was rehearsing for the Philco Hour with 9 men. And then I sang a song, L'amour, toujours l'amour. And you heard a cheery whistle, and then you saw my picture. And the picture had static marks on it, and it went all around the world. So it was a terribly interesting experiment. And dear Dr. Goldsmith, you know, one of the inventors of television,
right.
said to me, I think someday it will be workable. Then I did a series on Dumont television, the first commercial series on Dumont before NBC or CBS was doing commercial television. So I'm a real pioneer.
TV pioneer, but much more so far as our audience is concerned, Joe. Radio's most beloved soprano. What do you want to say about Jessica Dragonette?
She's an institution. I was wondering what was the first radio commercial.
That's a good question.
TV commercial.
Or radio, or TV. Either.
I think the first TV commercial, radio commercial, was a Pepsi-Cola jingle, if I'm allowed to say that.
Anything is possible, right?
Well, I don't really know what the very first radio commercial was, but the very first a series that I did on radio was Colonel Green's station in New England. And we sang a program for his network in New England on Saturday night, and then we repeated it live on Sunday night for the New York audience.
Where in New England, New Hampshire?
Through New Hampshire and through, well, most of New England. And of course, Colonel Green was Hetty Green's son.
People used to stare at their Atwater Kent and visualize Jessica Dragonette's face as they stared at the radio, right?
Yes, I could be anything they imagined me to be or they wanted me to be. Sometimes they never misspelled my name, which was remarkable. Really remarkable.
They always got
never
it right.
misspelled my name.
That's got to be the most musical name in history, Joe. Tell me one more time. Yours is Joseph?
Goodavage.
Goodavage.
Yes.
And how about the sound of Jessica Dragonette? Is that
Yes.
gorgeous?
It's a nice duo, except that
Yes.
my name is not as musical, of course.
It's beautiful, though.
It's more scientific.
I hope so.
Sounds like dragonette. If you go fishing, you dragonette.
That's right.
Anybody ever tell you that?
If Joe went fishing with Jessica Dragonette.
If Joe went fishing with Jessica Dragonette. Now we've heard everything, right? But I've also got your phonograph records on Columbia, Victor. You made some big selling records.
Yes, I have. And this is a new record that has just come out.
I want to tell the whole countryside and Joe Goodavage that we've got something which is historic. Tell us how it came into being, please.
Well, it came into being because I was asked to do it. And this is the first record that's available for 10 years. 10 years ago, I did a religious album for Columbia, and that has been going and was highly successful. And now this is destined, I'm sure, to be a collector's item. 16 love songs. And Mr. Kiner, who made the record, Kiner Enterprises, chose these numbers. Most of them are from Saturday Night Serenade.
30s and 40s.
No, late 40s.
Late 40s,
late
right.
40s, yes.
Right.
Late 40s.
We're going to hear...
Nothing from the 30s.
We're going to hear the voice of
But
Jessica.
I hope the next one will have some from the 30s.
I hope so. We're going to hear the voice of Jessica Dragonette in the 40s. As soon as we say that one reward for Jessica dropping down here today is going to be an autographed copy of Our Threatened Planet by Mr. Goodavage.
Oh, lovely.
Interested in the topic?
Lovely, indeed I am, yes. I asked him if this was Mr. Metakovsky's idea, Worlds in Collision.
What's the answer, Joe?
The answer is that Dr. Velikovsky is very scientifically controversial.
Very.
And deals with the past, and this, of course, deals with forecasting the weather by cosmic means, by planetary means, seasons in advance and years in advance.
This man forecasts something very, very scary, a record-breaking deep freeze for the winter of 1981.
As soon as that? As
Joe.
soon as that?
Well, that'll be the opener, yes. It'll
That'll
be
be the
a
opening.
tough decade.
Joe,
Very
give
tough
us a
decade.
little of your basis for that forecast, if you're in the...
Well, the solar system is an interdependent unit, and everything in the solar system, all the bodies affect each other. And the center of mass of the solar system is going to be on the other side of the sun in the early 1980s. And one of the reasons for this is that our atmosphere is affected by what occurs on the sun. When there are sunspots and solar flares, our weather is affected, radio weather is affected, and lower weather is affected. And the difference between this kind of weather forecasting, astronomic weather forecasting, or astrological if you prefer, since you are dealing with the planets,
Right.
is that you can pick out the anomalistic weather, the big things that are going to happen, the tornadoes, the hurricanes, the blizzards, the deep freezes, the droughts, the floods, that sort of thing.
Well, in California, the scientists have been predicting some kind of a major earthquake sometime within the next 50 years. And in this book, Jessica, Mr. Goodavage predicts almost the exact time and date. Would you care to build
Yes,
up on?
I've stuck my neck well out on that, and I hope I'm wrong, but I believe that I'm on very solid ground, because a British astrophysicist, Dr. John Gribben, who wrote the book The Jupiter Effect a few years ago, concurs that we just differ by a year, that immediately after the vernal equinox of March 20th, 1980, which follows a total solar eclipse, or a solar eclipse, there will be during this huge, let's say, well, with all of the planets on the other side of the sun and the Earth on this side, I'm trying to talk in layman's terms, sort of the center of balance is upset, and the thing that's going to give in the earthquake-prone areas of the world, the most likely place to go is the Palmdale Bulge along the San Andreas Fault in California. And the date for that would be, in my estimation, very close to April 4th, 1980. Now, it'll be the first in a series of slippages, and California is getting ready for this.
Jessica, you and I are going to move to a foreign country any minute now.
That won't help us, will it?
Where's your handsome husband today? Is he here, Jessica?
No, he's not here today.
He's a good man.
Yeah.
I like him. Joe, complete the story on California.
Well, San Francisco has a huge disaster alert area. There are students and volunteers, hundreds of them, and they're using it as a college course. They're ready for it when it happens, and I think this is an intelligent thing to do. And this is one of the reasons I wrote the book, not mainly about earthquakes, but about the interaction of the Earth with the other celestial bodies, because everything happens.
Joe, it's all so new, so untested. How's this going to help people? What are you going to achieve with a book like this? If I may be so rude, or bold, or whatever. Good question?
Very good question.
Okay.
The idea of my writing the book was, in fact, to alert as many readers as possible who are interested in the area, who are interested in astrology, for example, who are interested in astronomy, or any of the unknown and forgotten areas of science, that this is a thing that can be used, and used to very good advantage, and many, many thousands of lives can be saved if we're prepared for a deep freeze and blizzards of unprecedented, like hasn't happened in this country since 1816, when we had 30-foot drifts right here in New York. That sort of thing. It can be valuable to know, to prepare seasons in advance, years in advance, insofar as we know where the planets are going to be, and you can tell that for 100 years or so.
So if certain calamities await us, we can be prepared in advance. But this has to be the most incredible book about the sun and the earth and predictions by the world's most celebrated weather forecaster, shall we call him. Is that a good word for you, Joe?
Astrometeorologist.
Right.
I'm a student of astrometeorology,
You're a good
and I try to show how it's done.
Jessica?
The book on cooling. You know the book on
Yes,
cooling.
yes.
That's probably related to this also.
Yes, I have a chapter on the supposed ice age,
Joe,
which I
you
disagree with.
You disagree with that?
Yes,
No.
I think there'll be an ice age.
Why?
Because
No,
we'll be
he
coming
doesn't
out of this.
disagree with
This
that.
will be a 4-year period of intense cold winters. Then we'll come out of it by 1984.
Well, all I know is I'm going to curl up in the corner with my Jessica Dragonette records. I'm setting some up right now. I'm chatting here with radio's most beloved soprano, Jessica Dragonette, and Mr. Joseph Goodavage, author of Our Threatened Planet, published by Simon & Schuster, and momentarily, the most gorgeous voice ever heard on anybody's TV or radio show. Stay with us, please.
Oh, thank you. Isn't he Mr. Wonderful?
It certainly is.
Don't leave me. I'll be right back. So brief and so delicious down memory lane with broadcasting's most beloved lady, Miss Jessica Dragonette.
Jessica Dragonette and the beautiful Jerome Kern melody from Showboat, Make Believe.
The game of just supposing is the sweetest game I know. Our dreams are more romantic than the world we see. And if the things we dream about don't happen to be so, that is just an unimportant technicality. We could make believe I love you, only make believe that you love me. All the signs
Joe, you're not a radio nostalgia
you.
buff the way I am, but I would love your educated appraisal of what's happening here
I
today.
am a radio nostalgia buff the way you are.
Really,
as a matter
Joe?
of fact, yes. And I remember this very, very clearly. It's a thrilling experience. I was telling Jessica that and our family was 78, I believe, that particular number. And I've never thought a few of those type of records.
Those 78s.
It's becoming very valuable.
Joe, this goes into my mind and my annals and my archives alongside my outstanding show. I've had 65,000 guests, and we had Bing Crosby here, who won every male popularity poll, and now Jessica Dragonette, who won every female popularity poll.
Well, you know, it was really Bing Crosby who got me to do this.
Really?
Yes, because I wrote to him and I said, this man, Mr. Kiner, has written me to sign a contract with him. I don't know him at all. He said, oh, Jessica, go right ahead and do it. And you know that after he died, when I received my allotment of records, a box of his records was in with it. It was like a message from him. Isn't that interesting?
A message from the master.
Yes, definitely.
I think about Bing many times, don't you?
Oh, I do too.
Who could have been some of your co-stars or leading men on the radio? Did you sing with Frank Munn ever?
No, I never sang with Frank Munn.
No.
You know, I was really supposed to sing with him on the first Palm Olive show.
Right.
But I was busy doing city service, so I couldn't do it.
I know.
But I admired him greatly, and very beautiful voice and beautiful singer. However, with Bing, you know, you played one night a marathon medley that was just out of this world. But, of course, I sang with Frank Parker and with Bob Simmons and with Jimmy Melton.
Name one favorite
And,
announcer. Who could say Jessica Dragonette the best?
Oh, beautifully, Ford Bond.
Ford Bond. What a man.
Yes.
What a voice.
Oh, yes, wonderful.
What a man. What a wonderful
Yes,
lady.
absolutely. Well, so much happened in radio, so much new, you know. I did the first Coca-Cola series.
I know.
I was Vivian the Coca-Cola girl. The first time a talking script was written for the air.
You're Jessica Dragonette, my girl. I'm setting up another Jessica Dragonette record. Joe, I want to ask you before I get sidetracked. What's the fascination for you for horoscopes and weather forecasting and planets and ice and heat and so forth?
The fascination for me is that there is something of value here. In my estimation, astrology is about 90% superstition, 5% gobbledygook, and 5% hard scientific fact. And this is the message that I'm trying to get across in this book, that there is something of value here that can be used. And in that small area, it should be investigated impartially and with an unbiased point of view. And with weather, I've decided that this is a sort of a put-up or shut-up proposition where a prediction can be made, and it either hits it on the head or it doesn't. And of course, the orthodox meteorologist can get away with the human errors we all do, but an astrometeorologist such as George McCormick, to whom I dedicated this book, has to be right most of the time, or he's out of business. And it is an important and untapped new scientific area.
This man's field of science and book called Our Threatened Planet, the book and the man, both very absorbing. I mean,
Oh, fantastic, I think.
I recommend the book.
Absolutely.
I recommend you try to find some of Jessica Dragonette's books. If you're lucky, you might find them in some stores. This lady has written the most precious books on voice and speech. And for many years, she was radio's best-dressed lady. I'm going to bring back the best-loved voice following these words. Stay with me, please. Okay, for Mr. Goodavage, and mostly for me, no, for the whole world, at the height of her network career, one of broadcasting's truly great personalities, Miss Jessica Dragonette.
They asked me how I knew my true love was true. I replied, something here inside cannot be denied.
In Japan.
Been enchanting and thrilling and charming listening to that beautifully trained voice. I was wondering, Joe, my science editor, what do you want to say about Jessica Dragonette?
In this world, there is style and elegance here and there, rare, unfortunately, but the touch of greatness is indeed a
Jessica,
true
Isn't that
wonderful
lovely?
thing
that's
to
the
hear.
word, style.
Isn't that lovely?
Help me wind up today's show,
That's
Jessica.
charming. Well, I just wanted to say that when I was before the microphone, I used to feel as Ariel felt. I drink the air before me and incarnate it in song.
Gorgeous. I'm rushing home now with Jessica's record album and with Joe's book. And I want to thank John J. O'Connor, and I want to thank you for listening. Be watching tomorrow for more gorgeous people. Jessica, we love you very much.
Thank you. We love you too.
What a lady.
Now stay tuned for your favorite romper room games next on Channel 9.